we're bringing up our resident storyteller. This brother, I met him at the Throw Poetry Collective storytelling event. And not the storytelling, what am I saying? The slam. And me, I love storytelling. I've loved it since I was a kid. It's something that helped me to get in touch with my culture, my Haitian culture, my Jamaican culture. And I wanted him on the stage, and he was all nervous about it and everything. And he came, and everybody loved what he did. And I think you're gonna love what he does. He is bringing a new piece to you tonight for the first time. So please, 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 give it up. Give him the love. Give it up for JD Hobbes.
Just the right hand. Once upon a time, a princess was born. And she was born beautiful, but that's not unusual because all babies are beautiful. But this princess's beauty was so unique that as she grew older, it began to become difficult to look at her, even painful. And by the time she was a teenager, her beauty was so great that if you looked at her in the eyes, you would go blind. She was so beautiful. Now one day the king was walking through the castle, and he happened to look through a stained glass window, and he saw his daughter sitting in the garden, and she happened to look up at him. And for the first time in many years, the king was able to look his daughter in the eye and not go blind. And he realized that it was the stained glass, the colored glass. It distorted the light just enough that it protected him from her gaze. And so immediately he had little pieces of stained colored glass prepared for everyone so that they could look at the princess. Now, when the princess was 10, she suddenly became blind herself. And the king called for the healers, and he called for the doctors, and they came and they performed all sorts of tests on the princess. Some of them were very uncomfortable. And the doctor declared that it was as if there was a cloud behind her eyes that hid the world from her. And maybe one day the cloud might pass, or it might stay with her for the rest of her days. So the king, the queen, and the princess decided that they would keep her condition a secret. There was no point in telling everyone if the cloud would go away the next day. Now as the princess grew older, she was becoming of the proper age to be married, and so the king prepared, he sent out a proclamation, and the princess's beauty was so well known, there were princes lined up around the block to meet her. Kim was there, in fact. And they came and they met the princess, and of course she was so beautiful, they all fell in love with her immediately, and they were good men, and the princess liked them well enough. But each man who came to meet her, she would say, "I need to test your love. Put down your colored glass and look me in the eyes." And one by one, the princes refused. I can't give up my eyesight for you. I need my eyes for maybe one day I'll be king. I'm sorry, I can't. And she turned them all away. And she turned so many away that eventually one day she realized that even if she could find a man who would give up his eyesight for her, she would have nothing to give in return. And so she very quietly decided that love was not something that she could afford in this life. Well, the weeks passed. One day the princess decided to take a break from meeting prince after prince after prince. And she packed herself a little picnic lunch, and she left the castle. And she was so used to being blind, she knew how to count her steps from the castle to the cliffs. And the cliffs was somewhere where she loved to go. She loved sitting at the edge of the cliffs and listening to the waves from the ocean, the immensity of the ocean. It just relaxed her. So as she was making her way to the edge of the cliffs, what she didn't know was the fool was there. And he was sitting on the edge of the cliffs with his legs dangling over the edge, and he had a bottle of wine in his hand, and he had stolen a leg of mutton from the kitchen, and he was having a picnic of his own. And when he turned and he saw the princess walking towards him, he grew concerned because she was walking quite close to the edge. And he knew that it was inappropriate for him to speak to her without permission, but he risked it. And he said, "Princess, be careful, you are walking too close to the edge." Now, of course, the princess didn't know that he was there, But she recovered and she said, "I know what I'm doing, fool." And she sat down and she began to eat her lunch. Now the fool had known he broke the rules, and he decided to push it a little farther because there was something he always wanted to know. And he said, "Princess, please tell me, why don't you laugh at my jokes?" And the princess thought she had been caught out, like her secret had gotten out, because of course the fool's humor was very physical. And because the princess couldn't see him, well, she had learned how to laugh when others laughed. And she said, "I do laugh at your jokes. It's true, you do laugh at my jokes," said the fool, "but it's never real laughter, it's always polite laughter." Well, the princess said, "Well, maybe I just don't find you that funny." "Oh no, I'm funny. I'm funny," said the fool. "I know how to make people laugh. In fact, I can make you laugh right now with 3 simple words." "Well, go ahead," said the princess, "if you think you're so funny." And the fool looked at her, and he said, "I love you." And the princess did laugh, but it was a bitter, hollow laugh. And she said, "You are truly such a fool. What do you know of love?" "Well, fine. If you think you love me so much, I will put to you the test that I've put to all of the princes who have come to see me. Put down your colored glass and look me in the eyes." And the fool said, "If I do that, you know that I'll lose my eyesight." And the princess says, "I know that. So please, don't throw your eyesight away on me, for I'll have nothing to give in return. Protect yourself." And suddenly, the princess felt a little smooth piece of glass being placed in her hand. And she heard the fool gasp, and she knew that he was now blind. And she heard him stumble, and he fell off the edge of the cliff. And the princess stood up. She knew that he was now newly blind, and he would not know how to take care of himself. So without even thinking, she jumped off the cliff after him. And the 2 of them fell into the ocean. And just before the waves swept them away, their hands met, and they discovered love. And that love outlasted the princess and the fool. That love outlasted the king and the queen and all the people of that kingdom. And that love will outlast us all, because that is what love is. Thank you. That story is based on a story written by Richard Kennedy. I want to tell you that Tuesday night I'm hosting a storytelling competition called Slamtastique Story Slam. It takes place at the Mariposa Cafe. I'm the host. Everybody here has stories. Everybody has stories they were told when they were young, stories of crazy things you did when you were younger. And you can come up on my stage and tell stories. There's prizes, there's glory, there's lots of sexy people. You should come. So thanks very much.